All right. We are back again.
That was extended.
Yeah. I don't think you've done one of those in a while.
No, man.
No. You know what time it is.
Yeah, guys.
It's the Not So Cool podcast time.
Yeah, man.
We are on episode 43.
Is it 43?
Yeah.
Oh, that boy knows this time. Usually he never knows.
It's a lot of episodes,
He
man.
says that every episode. Ooh, that boy never
Ooh,
knows.
that boy
And I'm like 2 for 43 that I've been wrong.
Hey, I mean,
It's not bad.
that's better than 0 for 43, right?
But you're not supposed to talk until we introduce you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. So we got a special guest, Mr. Can we call you by your full name?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's way better than the social media name. That's always
Alright.
weird for me.
All right. So his name is no, I'm just kidding. No, Grant Tucker, amazing photographer out here. If you don't know his name, get familiar with it.
Yeah. Also known as SC. Okay, I won't do it. He said don't do it.
It's SC knows just to get it out the way.
What does that mean? What is it? SC knows.
So I mean, the only reason I became a photographer is because I had a clothing line around like 2007, like junior year of high school to 2012.
Yeah.
And the line was called Simply Complicated. So that's why I got the tattoo on my wrist with the S and the C. And everything got really, really good around 2009. Like Jay-Z was wearing it, J-Rock was wearing it. I was getting a lot of attention, but I had no idea how to run a business whatsoever. And I lost like $20,000. And I was like, okay, I can't afford to like do any type of marketing or anything. So I guess I'll shoot concerts. So I started shooting Scoremore shows. First one I ever shot was the Big Sean show in the restaurant at the House of Blues. And I didn't want to like confuse the brand and like do a Simply Complicated apparel and then do the other thing. So I had a bow nose shirt, and it was just like, I'm just going to do SC nose. That's the easiest thing to do. It's really short. It's really simple. So I completely ripped off Nike. So everything has come full circle.
So let's back up a little bit. Did you know any of that?
Some of it.
I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know any of that. So before let's just, I guess, dive right into it. You want to say anything?
No,
Because I'm curious about that now.
I am.
How the hell did you get Jay-Z and J-Rock and all these other artists just to even wear your shirt?
So
And what year was this?
I started getting a lot of attention for it in 2009.
That's when
I remember the exact date because it was September 21st, 2009. Because I remember that I was working at the call center, like I was working at a Best Buy call center on 1960, worst job on the planet. And I went into work, and like my business partner worked with me, and we were just like, we were stealing time. Like
Yeah,
I didn't want to work. Like
Yeah.
I worked as little as humanly possible. So we were on. He always looked at like gossip websites and stuff, which just really annoyed me. But like he was on one, and I was trying to find something about the Mayweather fight because there was a Mayweather fight the night before, and he pulled it up, and it's this picture on Concrete Loop, and it's Jay-Z walking down the street in London wearing my shirt, and I just flip out. Like I flipped a computer, like I pushed it, I freaked out. I ran out of work that day. I didn't go back to work for like 2 days. And I was like, y'all can't tell me anything. Like I'm 18, you can't tell me a thing right now. Like I'm gone. And I never left because I didn't know what to do. So I still worked there like until I graduated college. And
So 2009, that's like pre-social, super selling on social media.
I'm a senior in high school in 2009.
yeah, 2009 Twitter was 2 years old. So Instagram wasn't a thing yet. Facebook was popular, but it was like only popular with like my age bracket, and it was still like a school social networking thing at that point.
Yeah.
High school.
So
Yeah, like
you
I had
couldn't
a.
even have ads on there yet. Or if you could
No.
have ads, it probably was like big
Nah,
bucks.
it wasn't.
I didn't even know how to do ads till like 2 years ago, so it would have been pointless if they would have been available.
Yeah.
But I mean, we saw that, and the whole reason that it happened is because a couple weeks before, I had got an email from one of June Ambrose's assistants, which June Ambrose is a big stylist in New York. She does a lot of stuff with Jay-Z. And she was like, we found your shirt on this really small blog at the time called Swaggered Up, and it was by these guys that I knew that were at Syracuse. They were really, really supportive of everything I did. They tried to give me tips on like how to run the business and things like that. And come on, man.
God,
Jesus.
everything's off, but I don't know how it's connected to the pills. My apologies.
Okay,
Continue.
as you were saying.
So yeah, they hit me up and they were like, "You want some shirts?" And I thought it wasn't real.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's fine. Like I sold out of all the shirts at school, so I had a couple left. I had some larges and some extra larges, and I was like, all right, I don't know what size he is. I think he's like 6'2" or something. But I really wanted. It's funny that I was telling you that I don't really care about Kanye at all anymore. But the whole point was the shirts were for Kanye, and that's who they were for. So I was excited because like the whole reason I became a photographer was because of Kanye. After I went to Glow in the Dark tour, like 2 years before. So that was the one that made me want to like take photos. Was that concert specifically? So I mean, I'll always respect Kanye for that, but it's another story. So they were for Kanye, and apparently what had happened is Kanye styles himself, like him and Eben style himself. So it's not like he doesn't really take anything off the racks, I guess. And Jay-Z just takes the racks with him. So they didn't end up in the video. So like in the Run This Town video, it was him, Rihanna, and Kanye, and they were wearing all black, like all the black leather. And I was defeated. I was like, they asked me for these shirts, I didn't even use them. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then like that was September 14th. I don't know why I remember these dates, but that was September 14th. And then on the 21st, he was wearing it on stage with Coldplay at O2 Stadium in London, which was insane. And then the craziest thing is like a couple days after that, he did an interview talking about like, yeah, I don't wear anything twice. I just take the whole racks with me. And he wore it again. So then people started calling him out for wearing the same shirt twice. So things just blew up.
And it was your shirt.
It was. And it was the best and worst thing that's ever happened to me because it was the only shirt anybody wanted. So I spent all this time, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to build this big brand. Like, I'm going to be like the next hundreds. Never happened. Like I made a little bit of money. I made enough money to order more shirts. And then I spent even more money and I lost that because I just didn't know what I was doing.
And when you say you didn't know what you were doing, what did you do wrong? Was it too big too soon or what?
I let my ego get the best of me. So I thought it was a lot bigger than it actually was. Like if that was something now, like I would see it and be like, okay, that's cool. But like, how am I going to keep this going? Before it was like, oh, I got this, I'm set. And that's what I thought that, that one little piece of success was just going to drive everything else and it was going to snowball. And that's just not how it works.
No.
And like, I understand that now because of all those things. So I appreciate that those things have happened. But
You're
it's
relatively really young.
Yeah, I mean, I feel old.
Wait, how old are you?
No, but
I'm 27 now.
27, but
Yeah.
that happened to him at 18. So
Yeah, that happened to me at 18.
That's good learning lesson at a young age.
So it was like, and then I was able to keep it afloat a little bit, thanks to Scoremore. Like Claire from Scoremore, she made sure that anytime I brought shirts, they would get to the artist. So like, even if they didn't wear it, like at the beginning, I think it was 2012 was when I started really focusing on concerts. Because even though there was like that, I thought I could keep it going without shooting anything for like 2 years. And then like end of 2011, early 2012 was when I started shooting shows. And they had this streak where it was Kendrick's first show in Houston. It was in the studio Warehouse Live. There was like, I don't know, like 150 people there.
I think I was actually at that one. That's
Yeah.
nice.
And it was like me and a couple other photographers. And one of them that was actually there is my business partner now. So it's crazy all that came together. But it's, you had that, and then you had Mac Miller, and then they had J. Cole's first show. And it was just all these things. And I remember, and that was the year that they had the Sunday Swagger thing, which is when they had like Macklemore and Kendrick, and they had this crazy lineup that like all these people have massive amounts of Grammys now. And Claire would give them my shirts, and they wouldn't wear them on stage, but they would like wear them when they were traveling. And she would send me pictures because social media still wasn't super, super popular then. I mean, it was, but it wasn't like it is now. Yeah, it didn't have the power that it has now. So it was like when they were doing all that stuff, like I would have like a really blurry like frame of J-Rock wearing my shirt. And, Bun was really, really supportive. I actually made shirts custom for Bun because I never thought he would wear them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you've ever seen on the inside of a LeBron shoe, it says made to the exact specifications of King James. I think it said on like the 7s or like the 10s. Mm-hmm. And I completely stole that. So it's the second time I stole from Nike. And and basically what I would do, I would be like, I would made to the exact specifications of Bun B. And at that time, Bun has lost a lot of weight now, but at that time he was wearing like the 3X shirt. So I didn't print 3X because I would never sell them. So I made them for him special, and he would always post them for me because I did that, and that helped me a lot. And Bun has always been super, super supportive even to this day. So it's like, that was how I kept it going a little bit, but over time I just sold less and less and less. Like I went from selling 100 shirts at the Sneaker Summit in like an hour and a half to I had 2 shows in a row where I didn't even sell 5 shirts. So like that was a humbling for sure, because nobody cared about it anymore. I still have shirts in my closet that I haven't sold. So it's like, and I can't make myself get rid of them. They're hideous, man. They're so ugly. Like I would never wear them today. It's like the ink is super thick. Like I don't know what I was doing. But I mean, it's cool to look at those things and see that perspective of
No,
how it
but
helps today.
It's dope that you had the awareness to use the internet to get something out there like that. At that time, I would never know. Like, it's cool that they saw it on the blog, and you can see how the internet made a lot of things go
Yeah.
full circle back in the day. Now it's so like saturated. You kind of have to have a one-on-one, personal relationship with people. But
Yeah, I mean, I've always used the internet to my advantage because I'm not a very sociable person. So like, I'm not just gonna like walk up to you on the street and talk to you because I'm not a shy person, but
You're introverted?
yeah, I'm really, really introverted. So I'm not gonna just go and start a conversation. But when it comes to the internet, I'm like, well, I don't have to impress you. I can say whatever I want. So like when the first time I ever got something on the internet, I like made some flyers on MySpace for Murphy Lee. I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I hit up Murphy Lee, I'm like, man, I'm a huge fan. Like, I'm from St. Louis. Like, let me make something for you. I know how to use Photoshop. And that was it. And that was the first time I ever hit anybody up on the internet. And then I was like, after I got the answer from that, like every single thing in my life now that I guess you would consider successful has come from the internet. Because you're never going to get anything you don't ask for.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't just go begging for something and acting like you're entitled to it because somebody owes you something, then, if you go into it saying that I want something, but I want something that adds value for you too, that's all that matters.
So before
that was a gem, by the way.
before we kind of we dig deep into the photography stuff, would you ever go back to like the clothing stuff, or is that something that you?
I've thought about it, but I've sat down to like think about it a couple times, but I feel like with the things that I know now and the things that I've learned over the past couple years, I don't think I have the time to do it. And like, I'm not saying that I'm just busy all day, every day, but I like to have a balance where, I can focus a lot on one thing because my one thing is a lot of different things. And then still, have time for like my family and like personal time and things like that. Because I think that that's really important. You need to have time to yourself and you need to have time you're not working, because I don't want to die early from working too hard. Like the whole, you sleep, I eat. Shut up, man. Like if I could get extra sleep, I'd heartbeat.
Yeah.
That's why I started going to sleep earlier and waking up earlier instead of going to sleep later and sleeping in. Like, I just feel like my day, I have more day if I wake up.
Yeah, like on most days I wake up at like 5:45.
AM?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Because my girlfriend works at a coffee shop, so I take her to work every day.
Okay.
And then I go to the gym, and I'm like, okay, because if I go back home and I go to sleep, I'm not waking up until like 11 o'clock. So I just got to keep going.
How's it being in a relationship as a creative?
I mean, it's cool, especially because she works at a coffee shop, so I don't, I get cheap coffee, so that's cool. And I mean, and she started to pick those things up as well. So I mean, she has, I'm gonna plug her account. So she has her account Caffeine Tangerine,
Okay.
which is local cafes and things like that. And I've taught her a lot about social media and content strategy and things like that. And she's really enjoying it. She's picking up photography, and I think it's great when you're with someone who has values that align with yours. Because before, like, I was in a relationship, I would be super proud about something I did. She'd be like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, this person's worth like $30 million and just like wanting me to do stuff for him, and that's cool. All right."
I know exactly. I know exactly what you're saying.
But then I do like the smallest thing, and Drea is just like the biggest cheerleader in the world. It's great.
Yeah, I need that in my life. I guess.
Yeah,
I've always
get you a Drea.
Because you always like post stuff with you and her and everything like that, and so I was just like, okay, you seem like somebody I could ask, and I'm pretty sure everybody's curious because you're like, I talk about my family all the time, and what I realized was being a creative, sometimes being in a relationship with somebody who's not a creative, sometimes, like you said, is like it could be hard.
Yeah.
Until they get onto the program and they realize, like, yo, this is happening and this is rolling. So that's cool that you not jumped on, but you realized early on. So that was a question I had for you. Anything?
Oh yeah. No, I got a lot now that
Okay.
you're rolling. So during the whole shirt stuff, is that when you picked up photography? When you said you started doing?
Yeah. So I had
Okay.
so. Once again, I didn't want to pay someone to do something,
Yeah.
so I was like, I'll do product shots myself. It can't be that hard. I mean, I was one of those kids in high school because I was always one of like the design kids. So like I went, when I applied to, I didn't want to go to college, but I was like, if I go to college, I'm gonna go to art school. Like I'm gonna go to a crazy art school. It's gonna be amazing. I applied to SCAD, Pratt, RISD, and actually just those. And then I applied to U of H because I just like, okay, if I don't get into these or I can't afford it, I guess I could just go to U of H. And then I got into SCAD. I got like a $25,000 scholarship per year. Still couldn't afford it because it's like 45 grand a year or something, or it was at that time. Oh, and then Full Sail, which was the other one, which was like 75,000 a year. Yeah, don't get me started on college. But but I got into all of them except for I think Pratt. I got denied.
Yeah.
And then the only reason I went to U of H, the only reason was because I forgot that I applied, and as soon as I got accepted, they admitted me. So I checked my email one day, and it was like, yeah, go on CougarNet. I'm like, I don't know what CougarNet is. And it was like, all right, we'll pick your schedule. What are you talking about? Like, I didn't want to go to U of H. Yeah, then my mom was like, oh my God, you got into college. And then at that point, I'm just like, okay, well, can't let mom down. So I'm gonna go to college. And I was in the arts program for like 3 or 4 years until I just had a fundamental difference of opinion with the teaching staff there. So at the art school, at least when I was there, you don't really get professors until you're in like your final section. Mm-hmm. So you might have a professor, but you're more than likely going to have a graduate student teaching you. Which at that time, going back to egotistical Grant, like I didn't want that. I was like, if you're a student, I don't want to learn from you. What can you teach me? And then like I would go into these classes and they'd be like, yeah, you shouldn't freelance. You shouldn't do this. And that's when I'm like really trying to like reach out to people on the internet and stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to do what I want. And I don't really want to sit here for an hour a day and just draw circles on a page for composition. I'm all the way cool on that. So I dropped out of the art school and I transferred to Bauer, which is a business school, and didn't learn a thing. But because I would go into class and I would just want to work on my company. Like, we're like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like I could use this for my company. And I'm just like,
plug and play.
Yeah, like I'm just sitting in statistics class trying to figure out like inventory numbers. So it's like, I never actually worked on my work. I graduated with like a 2.31 or something, which is cool because I got a diploma for whatever that's worth. But I barely passed. The only reason I walked is because I begged my finance teacher to pass me because I couldn't afford college anymore. I was like, they won't let me borrow any more money. Like I gotta go. So just sign this paper. I don't want to see you. You don't want to see me. Just like, let's go.
It's just part ways, like a divorce.
Yeah, exactly. It was great for everyone.
How long did college take you?
6 years.
So,
I mean, that's about normal now, though.
yeah, I got you beat.
Like, I don't think anybody finishes in 4 years anymore, unless like you have, I don't want to call it a luxury because that sounds bad. Because I mean, some people, they work really, really hard to make sure that their kids have tuition and things like that. So I don't want to disrespect that, but unless you have somebody paying for your school or you're working an insane amount of hours to pay yourself through school, I don't think many people graduate in 4 years anymore. I don't think that's an average.
I finished it too. Dropped out.
Oh my God.
Hey, finishing is finishing, man. Like I'm done.
I'm finished with this. I ain't doing this.
Yeah, he's
I'm
finished,
finished.
yeah.
It just means you have control over the finish line. That's all that means.
I couldn't do it.
That was another gem right there. Yeah, man.
Yes, he knows, man.
So photography. It's it started with the concerts, you doing it on your own. How do you start from there and get where you're at now? Like what triggers you to keep going? What clients? How does all that start coming? I just found out that you have your own agency. So how does all that start?
Yeah, so
Coming into
this is gonna sound really, really corny, and I hate saying this, but I don't really consider myself a photographer. I feel like that's disrespectful to photographers. I just hate that word, so I'm just like I just make things. Because on any given week, like we'll have website projects. I do videos like 80% of the time. Essentially, the only photo I do is for Finish Line, and even through Finish Line, like less than half of the work I do for Finish Line is with photo. Because I don't really do it anymore because there's not a need for me to do it because I don't freelance anymore. So all the work that I do is all client work, unless I'm like helping out one of my friends. Like I shoot a lot with Jack Freeman and T2 and like other people that
Shout out to Jack Freeman.
yeah, a terrible person. Jack is the worst human being in the world.
Oh God.
He can sing though. He can sing. That's all that matters.
But he's not a little guy, but for how much weight he can pick up in the weight room, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he's like a little action figure. It's weird.
So Even though I want to bully him, I kind of like lay back because I'm like, you're actually strong, so I'm gonna leave you alone.
No, I definitely bully him. So he sung the national anthem at the Dynamo game like a week
Yeah,
and a
that
half
was
ago.
crazy.
So he invited me to the game, and the only thing I could do was just make jokes about how hard it was for them to find a youth medium for him to wear. And I mean, you know, that's a big stage. I don't want to put Jack down at all. Like, he's extremely talented.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the best singers I've ever met in my life, and he's a really genuine person. But he's a lot. He's a lot to deal with.
Oh yeah, we have like a rolling joke, me and him, and every time we see each other, I swear this joke's been going on for about 5 years.
Bro, him and Drea like go to war every time. It's insane.
Oh my gosh,
It's hilarious. It's just like Drea versus Jack is the greatest battle of 2018. It's amazing.
So how did Finish Line happen?
Finish Line happened on accident. So Finish Line at the time, I was a food photographer.
Okay.
So when I graduated college, about a month before I graduated, I got a job at a catering company
Okay.
as a social media manager.
Okay.
I pretty much lied my way through the entire interview. So I was listening to
15 years.
I was listening to a podcast for like a month. It's called The Sold Marketing. It's not around anymore, but if you're into marketing, you should definitely listen to it. Very, very good stuff. And I just regurgitated every single thing that I heard. I was like, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to use all these acronyms. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm okay with saying this because the person who was my boss is now my other business partner. So everything kind of came together. But I got the job. I was doing like WordPress sites for him. I was shooting a bunch of food. And then one day on my way home, because I used to drive from the Woodlands to West Chase every day, which is like 50 miles each way.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of time in the car. So I would either be like on Twitter or something, because I would just be dead stopped on Beltway 8 the whole time. And I just got this tweet from a guy who hired me to work for Finish Line. I don't remember what year it was, but it was Steph Curry's first All-Star game. So
Okay.
the first thing I ever did for Finish Line was the Finish Line activation with Steph Curry at his first All-Star game in New Orleans. So I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago or
5
something.
years ago, yeah.
And that was like when he kind of started this ascent into just being like the most disrespectful player in the NBA. and he was really, really cool. Like, I was so nervous. Like, I drove out. I didn't make like any money on that. I don't even think I made enough to cover like my travel out there, but it didn't matter to me because I was like, this is crazy. Like, I had another Grant moment where I just thought it was way bigger than it actually was. And it's cool because it turned out to be a really good thing now.
Yeah,
but he was just like, he was leaving the company, and they were looking for regional photographers to shoot. And he was like, there's this guy in Houston that's really good at photography. Like, he's worked with us before. And then Brandon at Finish Line, which is Brandon and Cam are the people at Finish Line that have really worked with me, and we've done some really, really cool stuff together. Like, I think my work now is exponentially better than it was when I started working with him, because I was never a shoe photographer. Like I said, I was shooting like beef Wellingtons and salads all the time. So it was like, for me to shoot shoes, like that was a huge change. I had no idea how to do it. I stopped buying shoes in like 2010 because I couldn't get the shoes that I wanted anymore. And even to this day, with all the shoes I get, I wear Dirty White Vans like every single day. So it's just like,
So was there a shoe in particular that you really like?
yeah.
What is it?
And Bun got it. I'll never forget it. So I went to Nice Kicks in Austin. It was right after they opened the store, and it was these burgundy Air Max ones. They were padded Air Max ones, and Matt, who owns Nice Kicks, was handing them to Bun, and me and Bun were the same shoe size. So like, I'm never letting this shoe go because I know he still has it, and I love this shoe so much. It's like a burgundy shoe, Air Max one, with like a teal check on the inside. And I think it's a white on the outside, and it's just. After that, I was like, I'm done. I don't care anymore. I'm done. And that was I think like peak Jordans in Houston.
Yeah.
So I mean, Houston is still the #1 Jordan market, which is amazing to me because there's still not a Nike Town or a Jordan store or anything like that.
We are?
Yeah.
I could see it because honestly, I was in the gallery yesterday. And that's what I was wondering because I was in the Adidas store and I was like, "There's not a Nike outlet or a Jordan." Like,
We have Nike outlets.
But like, why do you think Travis Scott does Jordans and not Nikes?
Because it's an easier sell.
Have you been to Greens Point before?
I live by there.
Exactly.
Like,
So it's like-
go get all my Jordans when I grow up.
Exactly. Like, so you know, it's not like it sounds kind of weird at first because you don't think of Houston as being a city like that, but it's like Jordans are far and away the most popular shoe in Houston. It might be a little bit different now because of Adidas and everybody wants to jump on that. But at the time, like that was the biggest thing.
I won't say we're behind, but it takes a lot for us to switch over to something. So that I could see that, by the time we got onto the wave of Jordan and said, hey, Jordan is the thing to do, and now we're there, I don't think we would move that easily.
I think we've been on the wave of Jordan.
It's been a
No,
while.
I mean, I'm not saying as a recent thing. I'm just saying when it happened, and we've been there for a while.
Yeah, I mean it's easy because the Rockets are red, so you can get these shoes and then they'll go with all the Rocket stuff. So it's like it makes it. I mean, I don't have any proof of this, but I feel like if you have a popular brand and it aligns with, a sports team that has a brand like that, and everybody always gets mad at me because of my feelings about the Houston Rockets, but I don't like the Rockets at all, man. I'm not from here. I'm not. I mean, I really wanted them. I really wanted them to win this year.
Because this series is boring.
Yeah, it's so it's boring, but like at the same time, like the Rockets are just gonna keep being the Rockets. I really wanted them to do well, and they let me down the one time I've wanted them to do it. So
I'm not a big fan of the Rockets, and I'm from here. I like the Rockets, but I'm not a fan. Like I like Harden, I like Chris Paul.
So who are you a fan of?
The Bulls. I've always been a Chicago Bulls fan.
And they garbage. They're trash water.
Okay.
They're trash, garbage
The
water.
Rockets just became good, and
What?
I hate when people do that.
Okay, so you guys had Michael Jordan. Sorry, we're gonna flip this for 1 second, and we'll come right back.
Hold on. You want to cut?
We got 2 more minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. You guys had Jordan. Besides that, when have you guys? So you had the most elite player in the league. Besides that, when have you guys been a winner?
What do you mean? Okay, before you crash on Derrick Rose did take him to the playoffs like 2 or 3 times.
do you not remember that triple overtime game against the Celtics in the rookie season? That was ridiculous.
That's great. That's awesome.
Okay, so what's wrong with the Bulls again?
No.
They're not a bad team. They
Besides having the most.
I mean, both of y'all haven't really done anything, so it's fine.
no.
Everybody's even.
I'm not defending them. I'm not defending
Like if
them at
you're a
all.
Celtics fan, I shut up. If you're
Yeah.
an LA Lakers fan, I have to shut up. Everything else, even my
What?
No, if you're a Celtics fan,
Okay,
I have
so
to. That's one of the.
I'm gonna
most
start the argument. The only reason the Rockets have 2 championships is because Jordan didn't play those 2 years.
Boy, this pocket, get out of here.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I totally agree.
Super loaded.
So how come they didn't keep
Just-
winning? How come they didn't keep winning?
Because the team got separated after that.
Okay.
All right.
I like the Rockets, and I like the
No, no,
Rockets.
no, no,
I
no.
like the Rockets.
Off camera, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go into that.
I have nothing to say because all you're gonna go is back to the '90s. Like I don't care about none of that. It's done.
When were the Bulls good?
Huh?
In the 90s.
The Bulls were just recently good.
When?
When they had Derrick Rose.
Hey, that
No,
70
we're not good.
that 72-10 season was in the 90s. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay. All right, I'm leaving it. All right. So, Grant, agency, how did that come about? Like, what made you want to do that? And how's that rolling?
So it's, I think it was, what year did I start? It's 2018. So at the beginning of 2017,
Yeah.
all of my equipment got stolen. I was finishing a shoot with T2 over off of like Ashcroft over by like over in Hillcroft, West Park area, and we had just finished the shoot. I was loading up my car. We were in one of those like little business things with like the bay doors. I don't know. I can't think of the name.
Yeah,
like
I
a
know.
business park or something. Yeah. So we were in the very back one. There was nobody there. It was nighttime. At least I thought there was nobody there. And I was literally 10 feet from my car. And like I was inside taking stuff out, and for whatever reason, I put my bag in my car first, and I left my trunk open because I'm like, there's nobody here, like I'm fine. And then we were messing around inside, so I was inside for like 5 minutes. I come out, and my bag is nowhere to be found. I lost like 5 terabytes of files. I lost my laptop. Like a lot of the files that I lost were from shoots that weekend. So like I lost all those files. I had to pay back all that money. Lost my camera, everything else. And one of the main things that I lost was a bunch of real estate photos. For the person who is now one of my partners, Daniel Martinez, he had Act Magazine. He was the one that was shooting concerts the same time as me a few years ago that we met there. And I called him on the way home. I was like, look, man, I just, like, all my stuff got stolen. Like, I'll give you your money back. Like, as soon as I get a camera and I get back on my feet, like, I got you. So I'm on my way home and I'm just like depressed because that was what I had just spent my Nike check on. So like I had done a project. They were doing it was like an internal marketing thing. I don't even know what the purpose of it was, but we were just like going around Houston taking pictures and stuff for Nike, and I had just spent that money. It was the biggest check I ever had. I just bought a whole bunch of new equipment. I bought like 2 lenses, bought lighting, bought all that.
And all that.
How much was the check?
It was like 3,000 or something.
Ballin'.
But it was like,
Swish.
but it was the biggest check I had at that time.
I wasn't being funny. No, you're balling. That wasn't
man.
sarcasm.
No, that's not that much. That's not that much at all.
So those files were in the.
Yeah. So I lost all of his files. I lost all the files for the catering company that I worked for at the time, who's my other partner now. So I lost a bunch of food photos. Like I lost everything. And I was on my way home. I was super depressed. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I owe all these people these files. Like, I already spent their money. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't got enough money to pay these people back. So I'm on the phone with him. He's oddly calm about this whole thing. And I'm like, man, I would be so mad if you just told me you lost all this just because you left your trunk open. And he calls me back like 10 minutes later, and he's like, all right, how much does the camera cost? And I'm like, well, I had a 5D and the main thing is that camera that got stolen was the camera that I got for my college graduation. So like that had a lot of sentimental value. It's one of the very few things that, because like to me, things are things, like they can be replaced. But to me, I never thought I was going to graduate college because I just sucked at it. So it was like when my grandma gave me, like she scraped together all that money to give me that camera, and I got it stolen because I wasn't paying attention. And like that was probably what hurt me the most. And I was like, I had a 5D. I think I had Mark II, Mark III, something. I don't remember which one it is now. But the next day, he was like, all right, meet me at Camera Exchange, and he bought me the camera. So, yeah. So then that put me, I had to work that off, obviously. He was like, this is what I was going to pay you this year anyways. Like, I'll just give you the camera up front because I still need content. Because, he was one of the first real estate agents really doing content and really taking it serious. And we still do that same content now, and I think that we do content that's a lot better than a lot of other real estate agents. Like they try. I mean, like bless their hearts, like they really try, but but it just they don't. They're doing it for the wrong reasons, and he did it for the right reasons, which I think has a direct correlation with the quality of the content. And we were doing all that, and we got really really close. We were working together a lot, and because we were working together so much, I was asking for a lot of time off from the catering company. So after like 8 months of me asking off all the time, my partner was like, okay, so this isn't cool. Like, or my boss at the time, he was like, this isn't cool. This is your job. Like, you need to focus on this. I'm like, yeah, you're right. This is my paycheck. I'm not getting paid for this other stuff because I already got the camera. And I don't really know how it happened, but I was like, well, you've been wanting to do a marketing thing, and we already do this. And, we were working with Nextseed at the time too. So we were doing side projects with Nextseed, which is a local startup that does crowdfunding for small businesses. So it's kind of like Kickstarter for small businesses. I hate saying that, like when people say they're like the Uber or something, or it's like, it's like Chipotle, but with like something else, and it's just annoying and lazy. But, Nextseed, we were working with Nextseed a lot. And at that time, I was like, maybe we should just go get dinner, and like I just introduce you guys. So we had a couple dinners, and like it came to be that a lot of what we wanted to do fell in line, and it was the best decision was to form a different company. So I mean, there's only so much work you can do as a social media manager for a catering company. So like if I shoot a bunch of stuff in 2 days, like what am I going to do? Like what is he paying for the rest of the time?
Yeah.
It's like it's a waste of money paying me for that, especially if I'm freelancing so much on the side and not like super focusing on everything. So we were doing that, and then so we started getting everything moving around like January of last year. We went to South by Southwest to go to Interactive together, and then once we came home, we incorporated the company. And now it's Platform Creative House, and we've been doing some stuff locally, but we started working with other people so much that we didn't really focus on ourselves. And it's not really good especially if you're like a creative agency or you're any type of marketing agency, to not practice what you preach. Mm-hmm. So it's like if we're trying to sell a client on something and we're not doing that, like how much are they really going to believe in the product, right? Mm-hmm. So we've taken a step back a little bit, as much as we could, because we kind of when when we were first starting, we had no plans on getting going that quick. And then Marco from Houston Press hit me up and he was like, hey, New Era, the hat company, is doing some stuff for the Super Bowl. I can't do it because they want video and stuff. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yes, let's do it. So that was the first thing that we ever did. Is we did some stuff for we did some Super Bowl activations with New Era just for photo and video coverage. And then everything got kind of started within, like, my work with Finish Line started ramping up because one day I was like, oh, let me try to do video. And then eventually that became a requirement. So it's like that started taking a lot more time, and it wasn't as feasible for me to do the full-time job and that.
Okay.
So then we started doing websites and things like that. We did a really huge website that was probably more than I made the first like 5 to 6 years of me working combined. And I thought that was the craziest thing in the world. And then, you know, it's just, we tried to step back and like work on the brand, but we kept getting work and we kept getting work. And if I'm the one doing most of the work, it's kind of hard to take a step back and do that. And right now we have the ability to do that because, you know, we had a little bit of runway and we can really focus on building our brand right now, which is what the main focus is.
Ooh, interesting. I run into that same all the time, trying to build my own brand, and I'm busy just with clients running me down.
Yeah.
And every time I get like some breathing space, I figure out something. I was against it at first, but I figure out something I can automate.
Yeah.
Like you. Do you believe in automation or no?
I do. So I try to automate as much as I possibly can. I mean, we brought somebody in for a little bit to try and alleviate pressure between like Daniel and I on certain things like client communication and things like that.
Okay.
And we didn't really have it set up properly, so it didn't really work out too well. Like now we know what we need to do. But automation, I think, is going to be a really big part. I don't think you can really build a company without automation anymore. I think before it was really easy because everything was a lot of face-to-face interaction. Mm-hmm. But if we're working with 5 to 6 local businesses, and then, you know, if I'm working with like a sneaker company in New York, and then I'm working with Finish Line, and then we're working with New Era, I'm one person, and I'm not even all that talented. So it's just like I would say I'm above average at a lot of little things, but I'm not like, I'm not like really, really, really good at one thing. So I feel like the more I spread myself thin, the worse my work gets. And I don't ever want to give a client something that I don't think is good.
Yeah.
So that's my important thing is I don't want them to suffer because I can't manage things properly. And the only way to do that is with automation and people handling, you know, those administrative tasks and things like that.
So you would only allow admin type things to be automated. So you would never automate the creative process.
I don't think you can automate the creative process.
And when I say now on the photo end, I've, you know, because I do a lot of weddings, and there are guys that literally will shoot weddings and dump the photos off and have a whole nother company go.
Yeah. I mean,
how do you feel about stuff
from
like
a
that?
business standpoint? I think it's great. I couldn't do it. Because to me, like I just said, to me, I don't think you can automate creativity, right? So if I'm selling you a product and you want to do it, you're coming because you like what I do, right? Now, there's huge commercial photographers, right? And a lot of them don't edit their own photos, and that's fine. I get that because they're focusing on what they're really, really good at, right? They're focused on shooting. So they'll have like a digital tech, like they'll have a retoucher, and that's fine. That's a team, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have teams. We have me for the most part. So when we do things like that.
Other guys do. Gosh.
No, I mean they do. They do a lot. Like I said, I don't like talking to people that much. So it's like if it's something where we have to go talk to a client, I'm the last person you want in the room because I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to talk all day, and it may not solve anything. I may give them the instructions for what we were going to do because I'm just like, once you get me talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. You're doing this wrong, but you know we could do it this way. And they're just like, oh, shut up, like we're selling that, like relax. And you know, it's I would rather focus on creativity as much as possible and focus on bettering that.
Okay.
So I mean, my 2 main focuses is, you know, I want to make sure that we're always delivering the product that we sold as much as we possibly can. In the beginning, we weren't really delivering what we sold, and I felt really bad about that because I felt like I lied to him, right? Yeah. And I don't ever want to. I've made it, you know, one of my main things that I'm not going to sit here and lie to you about something.
You have a high moral compass, and I think that's very important when it comes to business.
Yeah, because I mean, I've been lied to. Like I've been tricked into doing gigs and
lied to
things
you,
like
Greg?
that,
Who lied to you?
like that, they're they're probably gonna have, they're gonna have that control over the project.
No, well, essentially, you're building a culture for the company.
Exactly.
So anybody who comes within that company, either you get with the culture or you have to, this doesn't work for me. For instance, like when you said you had the telemarketing job, the whole culture of that telemarketing job didn't align with what you, like, what if they had 5-minute coffee breaks, everything,
Oh, I mean, I took 5-minute coffee breaks all the time.
Of course.
But I mean, like with that, like I'd be there, I don't care about Best Buy. Like if you came on the phone and you were like, well, I'm going to take my business elsewhere, that's cool. I'm still going to get paid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like this is a contractor for Best Buy. Like I don't care about this.
But there was no culture there.
Exactly.
So the culture between the three of you guys is, I hate saying culture. It's like
I mean, but that's what it is though.
Oversaturated word.
super saturated.
I mean, there's a lot of those. Like,
Darn amigos.
You guys is bond with each other. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you mesh well, and then as you bring in other parties, if they mesh well and align with it, it's awesome, and that's what's going to help the company grow. So,
yeah, I mean, it's really hard at the beginning because, on one end you have someone that's a little bit older than me, but if you compare like success wise, like as a real estate agent, he's extremely successful, right? And then you take my other partner who has a huge company, like our office is inside of the company that I used to work at. So it's like, I look at him, like they're both older than me, right? And they have done a lot more in their respective fields than I have done in mine because I didn't focus like I should have.
how did you get around these successful people? What did you do?
Well, I mean, for the catering company, like I said, I lied in my interview.
Okay.
But
So
I
lying.
mean, yeah, so lying.
Lie.
It's get you everywhere you want to go. But then once you get there, don't lie anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I didn't really lie. I just didn't know as much as I let on. So it was just like, when I was working at the call center, I was like, all right, I'm probably gonna get fired soon. Because at the time, I was working overnight answering tweets for Best Buy, and I would just get these super wild tweets, and I'd be like, okay, cool, that's not relevant. I'm just gonna watch these cartoons on a proxy, and then I felt like it was coming. So I was like, all right, well, I'm about to graduate college. Like, I'm not about to have a degree and answer calls about like refrigerator deliveries and stuff. Like, I'm done with that. And I found he just posted the job request on Craigslist, and I got the job like that week. And with Daniel, I mean, like I said, we met shooting shows. Like, he had a magazine at the time. Like, I was in his magazine. I had like a 3-page spread. It's probably one of the worst photos of me of all time. I look so bad. Like, I'm wearing like this big, like, I don't even know what you would call it. It looks like something like a Wookiee would wear. Like, it was just like this big Rocksmith jacket that like Rocksmith gave me when we were in New York, and like,
Rocksmith.
yeah.
I bet you felt like you were killing it though at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh man, I got the scruffy beard and stuff. Like, I could finally grow a beard that connects. Like, it's crazy. And then I look at it now, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ! Like, this is the worst picture ever. And like the girl who shot it, she's the same girl who taught me photography. And like at the time, she was a photographer, or she was a retoucher for American Apparel in LA. And I was like, yeah, I got an American Apparel photographer to shoot my magazine spread. Like, whatever, no big deal. And so just like looking back, I'm just like the most annoying person in the world. So it's just like it's perspective, man. That's all it is, right?
No, and it's kind of. I kind of want to get into that. So I mean, you seem very like self-aware of like who you are, and all that, and then, like, I mean, it seems like it's played like a big role in just.
Not until recently.
Okay, so like, how did you become what? Yeah, how did you become self-aware? What made you like become self-aware? Being self-aware.
So I didn't plan on talking about this, but I guess we can. So I'd say back in like November. I've always had ADHD, or everyone's always told me that I've had it. So I've taken like Vyvanse and Adderall and stuff since high school, and I hate it with a passion. Like, it just makes you feel like you're just tweaking all the time, but like you also feel like a genius. So like, what are you gonna do, right? It's like every day you go to work and it's like you're in Limitless or something. And I was like, all right, like I don't want to take this anymore. Like, I'm getting these crazy headaches. Like, I still have like really bad kidneys. So like I got home from vacation, and a week and a half ago, I was home for 3 hours. I was in the ER again. So it was just like, I'm like, these meds, like, I don't want these. Like, I don't want to take these, but I don't have a choice, because if I sit there, like, I can't get anything done. Like, I can't just like wrangle the thoughts in my head. So it's like when I do all of these things, I never really read as a kid. I hated it. I was like, I'm just gonna draw. Like, nobody wants to read. That's stupid. Like, we're gonna have the internet and we're gonna have computers in our brains. Like, why do we need to read?
Yeah.
And futurist young Grant didn't really know anything. So I started reading a lot of books. So it was like I would read all these books on like productivity and like, how to really like maintain thoughts and things like that, and like mindfulness. Because I was working with Debbie Brown, with her brand Karma Bliss. That was one of our first clients, and I didn't really know anything about like mindfulness meditation, anything like that. And like Daniel was meditating a lot at the time, and I'm like, you know what, I'll try it. It's cool. And I did it a couple of times, and I was like, okay, there might be something here. Like I feel a lot more clear.
But just being around Debbie, she has amazing energy. Yeah.
She has a lot of energy.
She has really
a lot.
good energy. Like
Yeah.
a few things I've done with her, I was just like happy all the time. She's
She's just really cool. And then, Dwayne's like, yeah, what's up?
Yeah, he's cool. They're both cool.
Yeah, they're great. So it's like, we were doing all that stuff, and I was just trying to consume as much as possible. And I think a lot of it was like at the beginning, it was like, Daniel's reading books, I'm gonna read books. I'm not gonna let him beat me, because it's like, we're like brothers, like we compete with everything. So it was like, it wasn't really a competition, and like I was joking around with him that when I started reading all these books, it was because I was like, you're reading one book a month, I'm gonna read 100 books this year, and like that, I don't think that's gonna happen. But since like November, I think, because usually what I'll do is I'll read a book, and then because I do this thing when I'm working during the day, I don't know what it's called, but you can use what's called like a Pomodoro timer, right, where you work for 25 minutes, you have a 5-minute break, right? You do that 4 times, and then the fourth one, you have a 15-minute break. So it's for people like me that have such a short attention spans and can't really wrangle anything. If you apply one task to that 25 minutes, it's like a sprint, right? There's nothing else you can focus on. And then I started reading another book called Accelerated Learning, came out like the 70s or something. It was like these people learn languages in like a week and a half, right? And it just talks about like all of these cognitive things you can do. And with that, it was like, if you're doing this task, you need to do something completely different in this 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, if I go do something else, like it's not going to be just 5 minutes. I'm going to end up walking around, I'm going to start talking to people at the office. Like I'm not going to get anything done. Mm-hmm. So I bought a Kindle on Prime Day last year for like $25. And when you have the Kindle, right, so they had this thing where you can do the text to narration. Mm-hmm. And I just put it like 4 times speed. So basically I'll work for 25 minutes, right? And then I'll read for 5 minutes, and I'll make it go as fast as I can, so that when you hear it, it makes you read faster. So I read considerably faster than I read before. So usually at any given time, I'm reading 3 books at a time. Like I don't listen to music or anything in my car anymore. Like I'll listen to a book in the car, like I do Audible every month. So usually it's 3 books at a time about 3 different things. And then I feel like that keeps my mind busy enough to where I can think about things from a bigger perspective than I did before. So, the subjects of them don't necessarily matter. Because when I started out, I was thought, why would I read anything but a business book if I want to learn business? Yeah. And then I started listening to biographies and things like that, and I learned that there's lessons there. Yeah. Like there's a lot of lessons in Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the guy who founded Nike. Mm-hmm. I listen to a lot of biographies, like the one with Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Like I listen to all those, and I'll listen to those double speed, because now it's at a point where I want to consume as much as I possibly can. And I feel because I've kind of trained my brain to do that now, I can pick up things very quickly, a lot more quickly than I did before. It's like I'm not a web developer, but I can make a website, right? And I can make one somewhat fast, and it'll look pretty good, right? A year and a half ago, I couldn't tell you anything about video, and video is probably the thing that I'm the best at now. I'm probably a better videographer than I ever was a photographer. So it's just like all of those things, I just think it sets me up for a mindset where I learn things really, really quickly, and I can retain things a lot faster than I was before.
You've been essentially, it sounds like you get grounded yourself very well. Yeah. And I was talking to him about that, and music for me, when I get into like a repetitive thing of music, and I'm just doing all these odd jobs, and I don't have like a central station. Yeah. I don't get grounded, but when I get back to that, and that's when I re-ground myself, I get a lot of stuff done. And that's when you're speaking, it kind of sounds like some of the stuff that I do, and it's really like the listeners need to hear that, because I think that is like the biggest enemy of most creatives, is not being grounded and not knowing how to channel in and push forward through jobs. Excuse me.
That's me. That's a problem I have.
Yeah, I mean, with me, like I've always said that, and it's become, you know, truer and truer to this day. But I think that there's a lot of clarity in chaos, at least for me. So it's like if I have things all over the place, I'm a very messy person. Like my partner will tell you that immediately. Like he'll go.
But I'm gonna tell you something crazy. What I've learned recently about messy people is they work from one side to the other.
Mhm.
It's never, and non-messy people are actually the messy people. So when it's time for you to get, you know, clean the mess, you either start go from here,
Yeah.
and this is what you do. But like really super hyper organized people, I will go way over here.
Yeah.
Once I'm done with that, then which it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, with something like that, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. Like I keep trying to find, like I realized it, you know, once I got more perspective on things, that the reason behind what I was doing, because I think it's really important to know the reason why you're doing what you're doing. And I think the reasons behind what I've been doing is I've kind of want to prove to myself that there isn't actually something wrong with me. So that I'm using this thing, because I think nowadays, like ADHD and stuff like that, I don't know if I have it. You good?
Yeah. Don't die now.
But I mean, I've talked to people and they're like, yeah, you have this, whatever, like doctors and things like that. But I think that that's used as a crutch for kids, and I think it really puts them down.
I know you don't like Kanye's album right now, but that's your superpower, bro. It's your superpower. I tell everybody.
Dude is a bozo now, though, man. Like I can't.
You gotta
I can't.
like that's why I had to get away from all the antics and listen to the music. That's why like there's some people that need to just shut up. And
Yeah.
just do what you
Like that's the thing. Like if he would have shut up, then cool. Like I could enjoy it. But
It's
like,
really good album.
but when you add that to the fact that I thought Pablo was absolutely awful, all 27 versions of it, like,
So did you like Yeezus?
yeah.
See, I love Yeezus. That's
Yeah,
one
so
of
like I think I'm one of the few people that think Yeezus and Yeezus, Graduation, and 808s are my favorite Kanye albums.
my- man, I love
So it's just
Yeezus
like-
and 808s. Those are my favorite kind.
Yeah, so that was, those are great, but like going back to what we were talking about, like it's always been to prove that there's not actually something wrong, that you can change the context that you're in, right? Everything to me is about context. Which with my partners, they get really annoyed with it because they're very, very big picture guys, right? And you can tell that when you work with them, because they have the successful companies and they see things from a higher level and they don't really necessarily care about the steps to get there. Mm-hmm. And with me, I'm very obsessed with the steps. So it's like when we had a brand meeting last week, and he was, Daniel was like going through all of his stuff, and I'm just like, look, we need to do this, this, and this. It has to be this. Like, we have to have the reason. And he's like, I'm not worried about all those steps. Like, stop being a creative right now. Like, we're trying to do some stuff for the company. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can't turn it off. So like when we do stuff with marketing and everything else, like if I want to do something, I have to go all in on it. So like I started the Sneaker Graph Instagram account like 8 or 9 months ago. I haven't posted in like 2 months.
Is that thing that moves? What is that?
No, I mean, I don't know what that is. People keep like attributing that to me, and I just found it somewhere. So I don't know. I guess it's getting really popular in shoes.
Needs to give you a shout out. I saw you in his comments.
Like 10 people tagged me in that.
Who gave him a shout out?
No, nobody gave me a shout out, but they were like, he was like posting these instructions on basically how to do what I've been doing, and like I got like 5 or 6 people DM it to me, and like a bunch of people tagged me in it. I'm like, well, that's cool. I guess Will Smith doesn't care about me.
After seeing all that, like, there's no point in it.
Yeah.
I'm not that cool. I didn't know. Sad face.
Keep up with the times.
Yeah, man. I'm
She'll
trying.
cut up on this Kanye album.
Yeah, man. You did something really interesting recently, and I want to ask you
Just
about
recently,
that.
though. Just recently.
No,
Yeah.
he does a bunch of cool stuff.
I mean, pre-2018, it was all trash. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask you about. So you recently did the NFL draft. From my understanding, you did photography.
yeah, so I had a very hyper specific job that I had for the draft. So it was, and like going back to my reaching out to people on the internet, I hadn't talked to New Era at all since the Super Bowl stuff, and randomly, like, you know, we were trying to figure out like what clients we were going to go after and things like that. And I'm like, well, I'm going to see if New Era needs anything because I can shoot stuff for Instagram all day. Like I do it for, you know, Finish Line, and we're about to do it for another brand. So that would have been easy, and that was the main thing I hit them up for. But they're like, well, you know, the draft is in Dallas this year, and like we need a photographer. Would you be interested? And like before they even sent the budget, I'm like, yes, let's do it. Because I was like, one, you know, I wanted to go on a trip, because at that time I didn't know that I was going to be in Dallas like twice or 3 times that month. So because I've been in Dallas like 1 time in the past like 5 years, and I had 2 solo trips up there, which were miserable. But
I got a funny one for you. I'll tell you later about Dallas.
But you know, I went up there, and the first couple of things, it was just like shooting meet and greets, nothing major, nothing cool or fancy. It was just like we shot a meet and greet with Cole Beasley. We shot one with Sean Lee, and then I think the other one got canceled or something. We were supposed to shoot a lot more stuff than we shot, but it was just meet and greets. And then at the actual draft, so at the draft, you know, you had the big stage and everything that they had at Cowboy Stadium, and they would basically walk from the green room past the New Era Cap Tower, and then they would walk out onto the stage. So I was literally sitting in a corner for the entire draft, which was miserably long, and I was just taking pictures of people grabbing their hat. No creative, like I couldn't move. It's the same reason I don't like sports photography, because I've seen some amazing sports work, but I feel like it's few and far between because you don't have a lot of control over things. And I'm a person, you know, if that's not really evident, I like a lot of control over things. So it's like, if I can't do something that I feel could make my stuff different from someone else, I don't really want to do it. It's the same reason I don't do weddings, things like that, because I feel like you're kind of set in what you can do.
Won't argue on that.
Weddings are mainly because I'm just way too big to be out there wearing like all black when it's 105 degrees outside. I'm just gonna pass out. Like, God help anyone who shot a wedding yesterday. Like there's no way it could have been me.
Hottest wedding, it was 105, and I did have all black on, boots and like double leather harnesses on me, and just sweating the whole time. The bride and groom just, are you okay? You okay? You okay? Periodically over and over.
Yeah, but see, you were an athlete. I'm just fat, so. Like you probably had to do like 2 days during the summer and stuff.
I don't understand how I did that. When I go outside now, I'm like, how? They should cancel football.
Yeah, like it's just I don't know how people do it. Like, you're stronger than I am, that's for sure. I can't do it. Like, I'll start sweating all over my camera. Like, I can't. I'll just look just like an absolute mess.
My D800, when I had one, the grip like fell apart. I was literally like, you could just see the sweat like coming down on my hand and just running. It was like a river. And you just, at the beginning of the day, the grip was on there. And then at the end of the day, it was just like, because of all the sweat going on there. So
yeah, I lost a drone because of sweat once. So it like shorted out the controller and it went into a tree. So that was the first drone that I crashed.
Yeah. That's funny. Let me do the corny stuff. What cameras do you use?
I use a...
And break it down by photo, video, and then drone. I'm pretty sure they're curious.
I hate this question so much.
Yeah, but let's give it to them.
Yeah, I guess. So I use a Fuji X-T2 for all my photo stuff, like all the hyperlapses and everything.
Woo!
So
Okay.
regardless of what anyone says, like I hate the equipment argument. I think it absolutely has to do with the photographer, but I do not believe that Sony makes good photo cameras. I use Sony for video exclusively. So I think my Fuji camera for video is absolutely horrid. These look a lot better than the video that I've shot on mine. We'll put it that way. But we use an A7R2 for our A camera, and then we use an A6500 for a B camera. When it actually works, it overheats really fast. So
I've heard that.
Yeah, so it's kind of annoying. But I mean, image quality wise, it looks almost identical to the A7R2 to me, which is crazy because it's like half the price.
Yeah.
And it's super, super tiny. And then for a drone, at least as of right now, I'm using a Mavic Pro.
The little bitty?
No, not the big one, the gray one.
The gray one?
Not the, well, I had like
a white one and then there's a gray one.
Yeah, so I broke a white one.
Okay.
That one's like in pieces in my closet. And then I had one Mavic Pro that went off the side of a building downtown, so that one got smashed. But Shout out to whoever's been using my Best Buy account because I returned it because I said it was faulty. So that was cool on the last day of the return policy. Then I got another Mavic Pro that I'm pretty sure is broken, so I never use it because you're not supposed to fly drones when it's over 100 degrees outside.
Oh,
I didn't know that. And it can apparently really, really mess up your drone. And like mine hasn't been straight since last summer. So I don't really know what's wrong with it, but I never use it anyways. I think that's all the cameras that I use.
Yeah.
And then I use it, and before we use a 5D Mark II, but I think that's all. I think that's all I use right now.
Wow, so
I'll use whatever's there.
You haven't had like a crazy progression of cameras. It's just been like 2, and then
Yeah.
it's dope.
Yeah, I don't like to spend money on cameras. So
What do you spend money on? Equipment wise.
probably going out to eat if you can't tell. I mean,
Yeah, I love food. I just
yeah,
have-
me too, man. Me too. It's cool.
I keep eating ramen. That's what I eat every day. You don't like ramen?
nah, no more.
Uh,
I'm on a healthy thing.
Mike's trying to get sexy. Get sexy. It's overrated. There's
I'm
never like,
single. You're in a relationship. You're in a relationship. I'm single. I need to catch somebody.
yeah, let's give him that.
Yeah.
I need to lead them on, and then
I mean, to be fair, I've lost like 100 pounds. So yeah, so I at my heaviest was like 2014 or 2015. I was like 300 pounds, and I didn't ever go to the gym or anything like that. I started going to the gym a lot. So I'm still big, but I have a lot more muscle than I did before, and I'm like number wise like 65 pounds down.
I really want to do an episode about that for creatives where,
fitness.
because we're real bad. Like I'm in this one group of photographers, and there's a lot of older gentlemen, and they're 300 and something pounds.
I don't know how they do it.
And then and they get on there and they start talking, and it's like, bro, I don't want to hear. I can't get past you being so unhealthy.
I mean, it's hard. Like it's been like a meme for the past couple months. Like this dude was like running around a gym doing gimbal training, and I cannot last longer than like 30 seconds holding a Ronin with all the equipment on it. Like it hurts so bad. Like my shoulders are just destroyed. So like I'm literally in the gym every day doing that. And like like I literally have to do videographer training in the gym just so that I can make it through a shoot. And now, that's my shoulders are all imbalanced now because I'm just like all front delt only,
Get ready for this gimbal.
just walking around like this.
Yeah, that is hilarious, man. Thank you so very much for coming out,
sir.
taking your time to kick it with us. We super appreciate it. Mike, did you have anything else?
Nah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, you told me. Well, you told us a lot.
Yeah.
I like it.
And the common denominator, what I've realized before we get out of here, you're very confident. And we've been getting a lot of confident creatives. So.
Mainly women, but
No, he's also very well.
I have a lot of fake confidence though.
fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make
Fake it
it.
till you
The women
make
have
it.
been pretty
Yeah.
confident.
Yeah, the ladies have been very confident as well.
have been-
So yeah, you're very confident, and that's something I'm going to take from this, interview or podcast or whatever we do here. But thank you once again,
Sir.
You want to do the corny, or you?
Thank you for tuning in to the Not So Cool podcast, where we make not being cool cool.
I'm gonna do it better.
That's
Hi.
amazing.
You're here with the Not So Cool podcast. Thanks for tuning in with Fred and Mike Grant, where we make not being cool cool. I practice.
That's amazing.